Hey drummers, welcome to another free little Christmassy treat from me, Rob Litton at drumstheword.com. Today I'm going to show you how to play the full song for free, Hitchin A Ride by Green Day, drummed of course by Tre Cool. And I've got all 3 pages of the PDF drum chart for you, every single bar notated. And you can download all 3 pages of this chart from my website. You'll find a link beneath this video for this as well. So have this printed out in front of you as we go through this together. And this song was requested over on my Facebook page. I'm offering this month of December and perhaps a little bit into January as well, the opportunity for people to give me some suggestions for free lessons. And so if you want to make your own song suggestions, then go over to my Facebook page. You'll find a link to the page beneath this video. Okay, so we've got the intro, and I've written it at the top of the chart. All 8th notes are swung. So when we're reading this chart, when we're seeing 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, we're actually counting it 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. It's another one of those triplet based songs that we're feeling a shuffle, and then some full triplets are being played as well, which we'll get onto. But the feel you want to have in your head is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Basically, that's the feel we're going for. So Tre comes in with the drums at 5 seconds after that little cool violin-y Eastern bit. And it comes in on the and beat 3. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And straight into an open hi-hat. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And that hi-hat rings out, so don't close it immediately on beat 1 that you could. Tre just lets it ring out for the duration, so he doesn't really close it, doesn't touch the hi-hat foot again really. And we go straight into our first bar of this military style snare drumming. Now, don't get thrown off by what you see on the music video. That threw me off initially. Tre seems to be using all kinds of weird sticking methods that make this so much harder. If you watch him play it live, you see he's found a way to play it that is consistent, and I'm sure this is the way he played it on the recording as well. Well, I'm really just talking about sticking here. I'm going to show you exactly what he plays. It's just what sticking do you want to use, and this is what he plays live, and this is what I believe he played on the recording, and this is definitely how I would play it as well. But if you want to play around with your own ideas, then feel free. So the first thing is that it's very quiet in the mix. Tre is playing the bass drum on all quarter notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. You can leave out the bass drum if you wanted to, but I think it's there on the recording, and you hear it play live as well. And then over the top of that, we're basically playing this. 1, 2 and 3, 4 and 1, 2 and 3. The right hand is playing the quarter notes, and our left hand is playing the backbeat on 2 and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. But Tre throws in these little extra notes with the left hand on the and a 2 and the and a 4. And they're written in brackets on the chart. They represent ghost notes. So they're played quieter than the other notes. 1, 2 and 3, 4 and 1, 2 and 3, 4 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. That is our basic snare drum pattern through the song. If you can't get all these extra triplet bits and these drags, which we'll talk about in a second, then you could just play the song during the verses. That'll work. Well, it sounds the same as Tre, but that'll work. That'll get you through it. So that first bar gives a great example of the basic rhythm, and then Tre throws in a load of other cool stuff over the top, as we see as we go into the next bar. So we get 1, 2, and then the and a 2, instead of just playing 1, 2, and 3, he plays 1, 2, and 3, and 3. We're turning that one ghost note with the left hand into a double, a drag if you like. 1, 2, and 3, 1, 2, and 3. But it's still swung, so we're not playing 1, 2, and 3. Well, that sounds exactly the same, but you've still got to try and swing it a bit. 1, 2, and 3, 1, 2, and 3. And then he plays this rather simple rhythm, 3 and 4 and, 3 and 4 and. So the whole bar, 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and, 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and. I'm simply using the sticking right, left for that last part of the bar. 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and. Then to the next bar where it goes back to our basic pattern, 1, 2 and 3, 4 and 1. And then the last bar is our first example of a full beat's worth of triplets. The first part of the bar, 1, 2 and I've written the and a 2 there, not in a bracket. Sometimes it's very hard to tell, is that a ghost note, is that a normal volume note? And Tre is throwing in all kinds of dynamics that would have made this chart so much harder to read if you're having to worry about that note is slightly louder than that note. But for where I think it's a little bit more obvious, I haven't written it as a ghost note. So there's an example of the and a 2 there. sort of leading into the first triplet on beat 3, 1, 2, and as a sort of a normal volume snare drum, 1, 2, and 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. Each of those beats, 3 and 4, are filled with 3 notes. So you'll notice, if you're not used to this, your hands will alternate with the bass drum. Right, left, right, left, right, left. First on beat 3 comes down with the right hand, beat 4 comes down with the left hand. So be aware of that and get used to that feeling of your hands swapping over, because you're going to need it if you want to play all these triplet notes. So that last bar, 1, 2, and 3 triplet, 4 triplet. 1, 2, and 3 triplet, 4 triplet. So that first line's got a lot of cool stuff going on. Let's play the first line around a few times. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2 and 3, 4 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2 and 3, 4 and 1, 2 and 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1. And I'll play this up to speed for you in a moment. We'll go on to the next line for now, where I've written verse 1, so the vocals come in now. And for the first part of the song, he stays with a pattern that he kind of sticks with. So the first 4 lines are very, very similar to each other. First line, 1, 2 and 3, 4 and 1, standard stuff. Second bar, 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and, gone over that already as well. Bar 3, standard stuff. Bar 4, 1, 2 and 3 triplet, 4 triplet. And again, that and is written as a ghost note, but you could play it a little bit louder, it doesn't matter. But we're basically playing the same as the last bar above, 1, 2 and 3 triplet, 4 triplet. That's what I'm hearing. So that first line, 1, 2 and 3, 4 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2 and 3, 4 and 1, 2 and 3 triplet, 4 triplet. By the way, if you want to leave out these drag notes, they do make it a little bit harder to play and comfortably. Then you could leave out the drag notes and just don't worry about them for the song. If you find that too difficult, just leave out the drag notes. So the second line, let me just double check this quickly. I think, yeah, it's exactly the same as the line above it, apart from the very last bar where he drags into the triplets this time. The second line of verse 1, bar 4, 1, 2 and 3 triplet, 4 triplet. So he just drags into the triplets that time. Line 3, exactly the same as line 2. Line 4, exactly the same as the other lines, but the last bar is different. We build up into a triplet pattern. And he doesn't really build up in volume, he just sort of starts playing it loud straight away. That's leading us into our first bridge. So that last line, 1, 2 and 3, 4 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2 and 3, 4 and 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. Just building up. I think it slightly increases in volume, but don't worry about it too much. Basically, we're getting ready to go into the crash in the floor tom, which is coming up next. So, before we go on to bridge 1, let's play for you the whole of the intro, the whole of verse 1, all 4 lines, up to speed without the microphone on so you can hear just the drums. And yeah, here we go. So going on to my favourite part of the song, this bridge, with these super heavy toms that Tre has. Really, really big toms he uses, really deep sounding, very, very cool. But, well, there's no but, it just is. So the first bar, we got a new pattern, and let's take a look at bar 3 of that first line. That's our basic pattern for the bridges. We're playing 1, 2 and 3, 4 and 1. So before we had 1, 2 and 3. It's exactly the same sticking, it's just we're orchestrating it differently now. And we're not playing those as ghost notes, they need to be loud. And actually we're not playing, it's quite hard to hear on the recording, but it makes sense because later on the bass drum pattern changes. He's not playing the bass drum on all 4 beats. He's not playing what I just showed you there, which you might want to play. He's actually playing so bass drum on 1 and 3. That makes sense because we're going to get onto the next bar, bar 4 in a second. We'll go back to bar 1 in a minute, where we start to change the bass drum pattern. So there's our basic pattern. And of course what Tre does is throw in loads of little licks over the top. So go back to the first bar. We start with the crash, 1, 2 and 3, 4, and then we're into our basic pattern. Bar 2 has this really cool lick, very, very simple once you've worked it out though. He's playing 1, 2 and 3 normally, but then beat 3, it's 3 triplet, 4 triplet. It works out really nicely. Your left hand moves over to the snare drum for beat 4. 3 triplet, 4 triplet. So that second bar, 1, 2 and 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1, 2 and 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2 and 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1. So really simple but very effective. Next bar, we talked about bar 3. Bar 4, we get the same as bar 2, I believe, except the bass drum changes now. So look out for these extra bass drums on the ands of the beat. So that bar 4 there is 1 and 2, 1 and 2 and 3, 1 and 2 and 3, and then it ends with the same lick we had before, 1 and 2 and 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1. So that first line is this, 1, 2 and 3, 4 and 1, 2 and 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1, 2 and 3, 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1. Next line, bass drum continues with that pumping effect, which is really cool. We get 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, so the hands are still playing, but the bass drum's playing 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Bar 2, 1 and 2 and 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplets, and then bar 3 there is the same as bar 1. We just get all the notes being filled, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, and then bar 4, 1 and 2, so we get 1 and 2, and then he moves up to the high tom, 1 and 2 and 3, and then the same rhythm is on and 4, but he plays it on the bells of his crashes and rides. So would be the best idea, but if you accidentally play, it doesn't really matter. But on the recording, he's using 2 bells, 2 different bells, probably a ride cymbal bell and his crash cymbal bell. You've got to be quick though, you've got to come up quick and then you've got to come back down to the snare drum. So it's kind of tricky, but if you practice around a few times, it's not that bad. So 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1, 2 and 3, and then we're back to our verse, which we'll come to in a second. So that second line slowly, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and don't hit the plastic nut accidentally. So now let's hear both lines of bridge 1 up to speed. So going back to our verse, as you heard there, and I'm now going to skip over the bars that we've talked about already, just to save time. So let's go straight to bar 4 of line 1, where we got a new variation. He likes to throw in triplets in different places. So we get this bar here for bar 4 of line 1. 1, 2, and, oh, what am I doing? It's back to this one again, back to the snare drum. I've even written on the chart, bracket snare drum. We get 1, 2 and 3 triplet, 4 and. Now the sticking there, right, left, left. This is what I suggest you use. It makes sense to play the last note on the and of 4 with your left hand. 1, 2 and 3 triplet, 4 and 1. 1, 2 and 3 triplet, 4 and 1. So get used to perhaps playing multiple notes with one hand over the other. Your left hand certainly gets a workout. 1, 2 and 3 triplet, 4 and 1. So it's a new variation of the lick. Next line, standard stuff. Bar 2, look, he changes the triplet pattern and puts it on beat 4 this time. So we get 1, 2 and 3 and 3 and 4 triplet, 3 and 4 triplet, 1. You end up playing beat 1 of bar 3 with your left hand. So again, don't get thrown off by that kind of stuff. You will find your hands alternating a little bit. 1, 2 and 3 and 4 triplet, 1. But then you're back with 2, so it shouldn't throw you off too much. 1, 2, and 3, and 4 triplet 1. And then bar 4 is the same as bar 4 of line 1. 1, 2, and 3 triplet 4, and 1. So let me just play the last line there. 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4 triplet 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1, 2, and 3 triplet 4, and 1. On to the next page. Page 2, verse 2 continued. We'll go straight to bar 2. 1, 2, and 3, and 4 triplet. So we put the triplet on beat 4 again. 1, 2, and 3, and 4 triplet 1. Again, you can end with your left hand there on bar 3. Bar 4, full 2 beats of triplets. Next line, bar 2, 1, 2, and 3, and 4 triplet. And then bar 4, exactly the same, going into bridge 2. 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, into a crash cymbal where we go to bridge 2. Now bridge 2 is very similar to bridge 1, but there are some bass drum variations and licks. So let's go for each bar. Bar 1 starts the same as we had in bridge 1. 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1. Exactly the same idea is going on here. Bar 2 though, we get 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1. Difference there is we get the extra bass drum on the and of 3, 3, and, so look out for that. Bar 3, sorry, 1, and 2, and 3, so he's breaking it up. 1, and 2, and 3, 4, and 1, so we don't get 3 and there. And then bar 4, 1, 2, and 3 triplet, 4 triplet, old reliable there. So a lot of variation there in the first line. Let's play it slowly. 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, 4, and 1, 2, and 3 triplet, 4 triplet 1. Then it gets busier for the second line. Bar 1, 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and. Bar 2 is really interesting. 1, and 2, and 3, and then get ready to play this lick. Left, right. 4 triplet 1, 4 triplet 1. 1, and 2, 1, and 2, and 3, and 4 triplet 1. 1, and 2, 1, and 2, and 3, and 4 triplet 1. It's a little bit of practice. Once you've got into muscle memory, it's really cool. Just get ready to play the 4 triplet 1. And if you play left hand, which you would actually play the stage on with your left hand, you end up with the right hand nicely. So that's a cool little lick there. Then bar 3, 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and. Instead of playing 4 and, he plays 4 ands, because then in the last bar we get these snare drums on the ands. He plays 1, and 2, and 3, 1, and 2, and 3, and then 4 triplet, 3, sorry, getting the counting wrong, 1, and 2, and 3, and then from beat 3, 3 triplet, 4 triplets. Now, it's a subtle little nuance here where the second note of the triplet after beat 3 I've written in brackets because he's sort of building up in volume, it's sort of a natural thing to play. So he naturally plays that second triplet note after beat 3 slightly quieter, but if you don't worry about that kind of dynamic detail, if you want to just play them all the same volume, that's absolutely fine as well. So that second line, again, a lot of stuff going on. 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4 triplet 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3 triplet 4 triplet 1. And I missed out the bass drum there at the end. He plays 1, and 2, and 3 triplet 4 triplet. If you want to leave out the bass drum on beat 4, fine, doesn't matter. So then we go into chorus 1 with the crash cymbal. So a new section now, and he's up on the crash cymbal. It could be a big washy ride, but it's usually his crash cymbal. And it's quite hard to hear the bass drum in this section. So we get, for the first bar, 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. 1, and 2, and 3. We're playing quarter notes now with the right hand on the crash. 1, and 2, and 3, and, sorry, there's no 3 and, it's the and of 3. 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. Second bar, more standard. 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. Next bar, extra bass drum notes, and I think I'm hearing these. 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. So a bit of a bass drum workout now. 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and. You could just play 1, and 2, 3, and 4 if you wanted to. Bar 4, 1, and 2, 3, and 4, and. Going into the next line, so we've got these bass drums in a row, 3 bass drums in a row from the last note of the bar to the next bar. Next line, 2 bars long, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and then 1 and 2 and 3. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. And he leads into the next section, verse 3, with a little drag on the snare drum. 1, 2 and 3. So it's like a little pickup note before beat 1 of the next section. So chorus 1 slowly. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And 1 and 2, 3 and 4. And 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And 1, 2 and 3, 4 and 1. And I'll play this up to speed for you in a moment. Let's go on to verse 3 for now. Again, I'm going to skip over the parts we talked about already. So we've kind of done bar 2, haven't we? 1, 2 and 3 and 4 triplet 1. It's the triplet on beat 4. We've done the rest of those. We've done the rest of those. Maybe second line bar 4 we haven't done yet. I think we have though. 1, 2 and 3 triplet 4 and right, left, left for bar 4 of line 2 there. And then notice the next line, just 2 bars long before we have a break. 1, 2 and 3, 4 and 1. Last bar before the break. 1, 2 and 3 and 4. And it really accents those last 2 notes. 1, 2 and 3 and 4. And I don't think he plays it with the bass drum on beat 4, but you could. 1, 2 and 3 and 4. Before we go into a break. So you've got to be counting along, but you got the music. 1, 2 and 3. 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 into our next section. So I'm going to do a big chunky bit now. Let's play the whole of bridge 2, the whole of chorus 1 and the whole of verse 3 up to speed. Here we go. So on to page 3 now with the guitar solo. In brackets I've written open hi-hat. So Tre is really moving to the hi-hat now. And this is a part of the song where I think I mentioned a second ago, it's hard to hear the bass drums. I think there's more bass drum notes going on than I've written. So sometimes instead of just playing 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 1 and 2, he might be playing 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. We might be playing and 1 and 3 and instead of just 1 and. But it's so hard to hear in the mix, in my version anyway, that I didn't want to put stuff that wasn't there just to make it harder. But be aware that Tre is probably definitely playing some extra notes somewhere. It's a random pattern though, he's improvising with it, so it's not like a fixed pattern you have to stick to. But just be aware of that what I've written here is probably a little bit simpler than what Tre plays with the bass drum. So if you want to throw in some extra bass drum notes, go for it. So also I want to say that it's really hard with Tre to notate where all his crash cymbals are. You know what he's like with this kind of stuff. He's all over the place when when he's playing. He's such a showman. So there might be some crash cymbals here that I also missed that are on the recording that I haven't notated here. I think the point of these sections here is that you just go for it yourself, right? You don't have to worry about working this out note for note or playing it note for note. You know the basic rhythm, and if you want to throw your crash cymbals in your places, that's up to you. Okay, so the first bar, 1 and 2, 3 and 4. It's open hi-hats, just half open. 1 and 2, 3 and 4. And the crash cymbal definitely at the beginning of each bar. So then we get 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 1 and 2, 3 and 4. Next line, 2 bars the same. Bar 3 though, we start to get these extra snare drum notes. 1 and 2 and I think he then plays, I hear a crash on beat 3, 3 and 4 and, so I did notate that. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then bar 4, 1 and 2 and 3 triplet, 4 triplet. So 3 triplet, 4 triplet. Just treat that note as the first of the triplets. Into the next line where we get 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Next bar, bar 2, line 3, 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and. So this extra sternum notes are so random. Then bar 3, 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and then the whole bar for bar 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Last line of guitar solo, bar 1, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, bar 2, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Same for bar 3. And then bar 4, similar idea to we had in the previous section, he plays 1 and 2 and 3 triplet, 4 triplet. So the last line up to speed, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 1. Into our next chorus, chorus 2. Very similar to chorus 1. First 2 bars are identical, in fact. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Extra bass drum notes in bars 3 and 4 that I could feel more, so I did include 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and. Just reading the bass drum here. Line 2, bar 1, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And then the last bar, 1 and 2 and 3, triplet, 4 triplet. Exactly the same triplet lick we had before. 1 and 2 and 3 triplet, 4 triplet. And then we go into the outro, which is just more of the same. We're just looking out for where the extra snare drum notes are, where the extra bass drum notes are. For the first 2 bars, he's staying on the hi-hat, but then the last 2 bars, he moves to the crash cymbals with C. So I don't think I'm going to waste your time by going through all these bars. You're just really reading the extra bass drum notes, the extra snare drum notes falling on the ands. Do they occur? Do they not? And then again, throw in your own crash cymbals. Feel free to do that. Go crazy with it. So bar 4 of line 2 is different though, but very simple. It's simply 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. A little bit of Dave Grohl from No One Knows there. Let's do the second line. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. Don't have to really count it. Then he moves to the crash cymbal permanently. So we get 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and. Bar 3, 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and then the last line we get 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and. Bar 2, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Bar 3, 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and the song ends with 1 and 2. It ends on beat 2 of that very last bar. So the last 2 lines. That's where it ends. And of course, you want to throw in some extra bass drum notes. Feel free to, if you want to have a bit more fun with it. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope that made sense to you. Don't forget to download the free PDF that came with this lesson, all 3 pages. It'd be much easier following along to this video if you have it out in front of you, even if you can't read music. Don't forget about my Facebook page. Go over there if you want to make song suggestions. What else do I want to tell you about? Of course, signing up to become an online member at drumstheword.com. And what I currently offer for $97 is a full year's online access to every single full video song lesson I've ever written and transcribed. And that's over 400 famous and popular songs now, including a load of other Green Day songs, teaching you full songs from start to finish, just like this lesson, plus a load of little other videos teaching you little licks, beats, fills from some of Tre Cool's best parts. So loads of green lessons on the website already, as well as 400 other full song lessons. Lots of stuff to look forward to enjoy on the website already. As a thank you for signing up, I'll give you access to hundreds of little videos teaching you many, many famous drum beats, fills and solos. I'll give you 3 ebooks I've written over the years containing hundreds more famous drum beats, fills and solos. And then over the year of your subscription, you also gain instant online access to all the new material that I upload for my members. And I record every week unless I'm ill or on holiday. So you've got lots of cool stuff to look forward to over the year of your subscription. But if you've got any questions about any of that, feel free to email me, rob@drumstheword.com. And until our next drum lesson together, doodle pip and happy drumming to you.